All right, friends, happy Monday. Sam Mirejovsky here, News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right show. Forgive me, first of all, for my voice. It's all I can do today to show up and be behind the microphone. I am this flu that is going around has got me too. So I'm in recovery mode, but had to. So much going on. I can't put it off, Robbie. We can't. We got to have a show, rain or shine. So I'm doing this with half my vocal cords tied behind my back. Okay. My email, sam@samandashlaw.com. That's the email where to reach me. I have to tell you, it's to me, this polling that has come through the weekend is so validating. And it confirms what I absolutely have felt in my gut. And I think maybe many of you will agree. The Harvard poll, the Harvard-Harris poll, just came out, taken over the last 10 days in the month of February. 58% of voters, 58%, are more satisfied with Trump's job approval as president than Biden. That's the headline. 50, I mean, look, it's a higher percentage than the popular vote when. Trump's personal favorability stands at 50% with a net favorable of +7. This is huge. And of course, it's big because if you are listening, watching ABC News, CNN, Jake Tapper, and all these dour people who have not been fired yet by their respective networks. Their ranks are thinning, by the way. We'll get to that in a minute. Huge firings over at MSNBC. So the ones that are left, if you listen to them, the way they make it sound, I mean, Trump is a criminal. He's running amok. He's creating problems. There's chaos. Programming on this station is interrupted every 30 minutes by CBS News. You know, these headlines, right? Just at the top of the hour now. Trump sowing chaos with firings. People have to get rehired, etc. So, by the way, what do people think of Doge? Because that's another part of this. People are 70% of voters believe the government should make hiring decisions based on merit. That is huge. This is, I mean, I'm telling you, it's enormous, right? And 42% of voters say the country's on the right track. That's up 14 points from January. 31% of voters say their personal financial situation is improving. Okay, that's up 5. That's also huge. And people love Doge. 70% think that these cuts that are happening in government are good. So, and I know, but if you look again, if you watch or consume any form of legacy media, you'd be convinced otherwise. Okay, so I have to point this out. Last week, Senator Rand Paul tweeted out his endorsement of Trump. Bit late. I saw somebody on the internet said this is like coming out and predicting the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. Exactly. It's a bit late. Although I point this out, it is not for nothing. And for all the criticism that many MAGA conservatives have levied out there against Rand Paul, I have to tell you that the fact that he has come out, and Rand Paul's very principled guy, small government guy, spending guy, his gripes with Trump in his first term principally were that the deficit grew and the national debt ballooned. Quote, a few people may have noticed that I resisted an enthusiastic endorsement of Donald Trump in the last election, writes Rand Paul, but now I'm amazed by the Trump cabinet, many of whom I would have picked. I love his message to the Ukrainian warmongers, and along with his Doge initiative, shows I was wrong to withhold my endorsement. So today, this was last Wednesday, so today, admittedly a little tardy, I give Donald Trump my enthusiastic endorsement. Too little, too late, some will say, but it's sincere, so there's that. So, by the way, he slammed the tariffs, but, he goes, but hey, small thing, and calls Trump courageous, in the face of everything going on, and for the most part likes his platform. So, well, it's a sign that Trump is winning people over. And you might think Rand Paul, conservative guy, okay, but he's winning over Rand Paul. He's winning over Thomas Massie. He's winning over people who previously were, I won't say the never Trump camp, but were certainly, less than enthused about Trump's presidency. The latest news, Dan Bongino being appointed deputy head of the FBI, is absolutely rocking the establishment. This is particularly true because Bongino, and many of you listen to his show, you know what it's all about. I mean, he has been an outspoken critic of the deep state. He is fixated, rightly so, on what I call the original sin of the deep state, which is, going back to Trump's first presidency, the Russian collusion hoax. He is most certainly will put, together with Kash Patel, Adam Schiff in their sights. This is excellent news. But more importantly, he's a rank and file guy. No, he's never served in the FBI. That's not the point. He's a former cop, New York PD. And he has also been a Secret Service agent. I mean, so rank and file, law enforcement, mission-focused law enforcement officers will appreciate having him as deputy head. And all the political actors, are certainly going to start panicking. There are lots and lots of reports, by the way, of panic within the FBI, that hundreds of agents have been fired, that about 1,000 to 1,200 agents from high levels in the DC office were reassigned to Huntsville, Alabama. So look, Alabama's a great spot. If you're a conservative person, Alabama's a great place to live. But if you are a Washingtonian insider, if you are a woke Democrat, if you are a Merrick Garland DOJ hack, okay, literally the last place on the planet that you want to be is Huntsville, Alabama. So I think, well, first off, sending them outside of the office, getting them away from the nerve center of the FBI, very important. Two, a number of these people may just hand in their resignation. But the other part of it that I'm hearing is that a lot of people out there within the FBI have been overheard basically asking themselves out loud if the actions in which they engaged over the last 4 years has been lawful. They're going, hey, what we did, remember that thing, I mean, Mar-a-Lago, was that lawful? And some people are saying, well, no. And then the better part of course is that some of the people are going, well, technically we had a court order, but small reminder here, Fred, remember how we lied on the application to get the warrant for the court order that we got allowing us to do what we did. And that's one of the big stories here that's going to come out over the next 12 to 18 months. These agents wholesale lied on applications to get the warrants. And the J6 prisoners, a lot of them witness this firsthand, because the FBI agents would embellish, the facts about, that person's participation in J6, say things, for example, like so-and-so wore body armor when it was demonstrably false, and used that in order to get enhancements. And by the way, they were used in sentencing and got people bigger jail terms. I mean, it was all egregious stuff. So there absolutely is a huge amount of fear right now permeating through all the people who thought a month ago, well, let's say 2 years ago, thought they were absolutely untouchable. It's all great news. And in the midst of this, Trump continues pressing forward with his agenda. And today met with Emmanuel Macron of France, met him at the White House. They had a conversation, obviously most of it about Ukraine, some of it about trade. And I want to get into that too, because, Trump's good. I was watching the meeting. And I understand Trump probably doesn't have a very high meaning of the French president. And the French president obviously has his negative feelings about Trump, but Trump is charming, and he put on a charm offensive, was very firm, but welcomed him properly to the White House, and I think is getting what he wants done, and doing it with a smile on his face. And these European and foreign detractors that Trump has have no choice but to come to the White House, visit with the president, and grin and bear it. It is a beautiful thing to behold. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT, the What's Right Show, is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam & Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
All right, friends, here I am. Happy Monday, February the 24th. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, back by popular demand. Sorry, folks, had to be off for a couple days last week. And I'm here with what is left of my voice. So forgive me. I will do my best today to provide the top program that you expect every Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Okay. A couple of things. I just had it here in front of me, and my fingers, Robbie, and my stack of stuff. Yeah. Well, I'll get to all of this fake news is crazy, right? So Dan Bongino gets put in, nominated to be Trump's deputy director of the FBI. So he's going to report directly to Kash Patel. And look, almost, I see a list here of different, BBC, NBC, NPR, Washington Post, Forbes, legacy media outlets. None in their headlines admit that Bongino has a scrap of any law enforcement experience. Here we go. Here's the BBC's. Trump names right-wing commentator, as deputy FBI director. NBC, Trump taps conservative podcaster Dan Bongino to be deputy FBI director. Okay. NPR, Trump names conservative media personality Dan Bongino. Blah, blah, blah. Trump announces conservative podcaster Dan Bongino's FBI director. That's in the WAPO. And Forbes finally Trump names conservative talk show host Dan Bongino's deputy FBI director. Okay. So they did this with Pete Hegseth, who already is proving himself to be an incredible Secretary of Defense. Again, his only qualification was being a Fox and Friends weekend host. And these are the people that ran around and with a straight face repeated the line about Kamala Harris being the most qualified presidential candidate in a generation because she prosecuted transnational gangs. I can't even get that out without choking. All right, so I'm just bringing that up. And speaking of, right before the break, I was mentioning that President Macron of France today at the White House meeting with Trump. Right as I was getting down to doing some show prep, I saw that the Daily Mail online writes Trump humiliates Macron. Donald does not greet French president outside White House. And I'm looking at today's date, and what are these people? What are these people smoking? I literally, my whole feed today has been how this is the third or fourth installment of Trump versus Emmanuel Macron doing the big Trump handshake. You know, the tug of war, the alpha on beta, if you will. So Trump went out of the front entrance there of the portico to meet Macron at the White House. It's just typical fake news. They lie, is my point. They lie. And the more quickly you realize it, the easier life gets. Okay, so Macron and Trump, they meet at the White House today, and of course, you know, in the background of all of this is an immensely popular issue. Because last segment, I just opened the show with this incredible Harvard Harris poll that came out where, on the subject of Ukraine, 72% of voters say they want Ukraine to negotiate a settlement with Russia instead of winning the war. And 60% of voters here in the U.S. favor Trump announcing direct U.S.-Russia negotiations. Now, look, Trump got elected by the American public. This is what Americans want. He's affecting this policy. And everybody in the mainstream media, everybody in Europe, a lot of these globalists are absolutely having a full-fledged meltdown. So Trump is right now doing something a little bit more nuanced even than some of his fans give him credit for, and that is this mineral deal. This mineral deal is absolutely fascinating to me because it's well, Axios apparently had a piece on this. They claim, Axios claims to have gotten a copy, okay, of a draft of the deal. Now, saying for a minute, or assuming for a minute that it is real, that it's true, the basic structure of it is that the U.S. appears to be willing, under Trump, to help invest in Ukrainian rebuilding. But in return, they get 50% of revenues after operating expenses from extractable materials, including rare earth minerals. This is, folks, lithium, titanium, and other rare earths that are absolutely critical to U.S. supply chains. So big issue. And well, the reason why I think this is beyond, everybody's focusing on the economic part of it, that it's good that Trump is trying to recover the money that we've given to Ukraine. But the other part of this is, I see this as a hugely advantageous thing, what people aren't realizing. Everybody's talking about how Trump is slamming, Ukraine and slamming Zelensky and cozying up to Putin. He's going to enter, if Trump is successful in entering into this deal with Zelensky and with Ukraine, what's Putin going to do about it? All of a sudden, forget NATO, all of a sudden the U.S. has a vested economic interest and an economic partnership with Ukraine. You think that perhaps, just maybe, the U.S. will step in and defend its economic interests? And Putin knows this. And it's almost, I mean, you could be pejorative about it and say it's it's like forming a little protectorate, an economic protectorate over Ukraine. You can call it whatever you want, but all of a sudden, it puts Putin into a little bit of a corner, because now it's not about, carving up a country that, maybe America doesn't care about. America now will care about it very significantly. And I think the Europeans are realizing that there's been this end run around them, that Trump is just a little bit smarter than the average cat. and that this is something the European, clowns could have thought of themselves, but, it's a little over their heads. Absolutely brilliant. This could be 500 billion in revenue for the U.S. and in turn, of course, help rebuild Ukraine, the country post-war. Huge. Okay. Yeah, that's the music. I'll be right back, folks, in just a minute. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. So Germany had its election yesterday, much anticipated election. Things did not go nearly as well as I would have liked. And it plays into the situation around Trump's visit with Macron, the president of France. Let me explain what I mean. So first off, the results here, well, let me point something out first that's just embarrassing for the U.S. 50 million votes were cast, all about in one day, by the way, Sunday. And everything was counted by morning. They require photo ID and use paper ballots. I'm just saying, like, they got more people than California. California took months. Well, weeks and weeks. But look, I'm just pointing something out. So that is one thing about the vote. Now, the AfD, the right-wing party, the MAGA party, if you will, of Germany, that was supported by Musk and others in this administration, did well, not as well as they would have liked. 20%, almost 21% of the vote. And the right-wing Christian Democrats, an absolutely worthless party, got 28.5%. So, the AfD came in second. I don't want to be too down about the result here. But the party that could have saved Germany ends up in second position. And, the number one party, the guy that's leading it, who lied. This is very important because it's analogous a little bit to what was going on here in our election in the lead up to November. There were plenty of moments where I found that Kamala Harris is almost pretending to be conservative. You remember when she stole Trump's no taxes on tips, for example? Remember that? I mean, she did it. She literally went anyway. The head of the Christian Democrats, his name is Mertz, promised that he would close the border because, of course, illegal immigration and, all these migrants that have come into Germany are wreaking havoc is a top issue facing the country. And as soon as the election was over, he goes, oh, just to be clear, we will not be closing the border. Complete 180 in a day. So just, this will end up, I think, resulting in the AfD surging in the next election and a crisis forming in the country. But the Christian Democrats are likely to form a coalition with the socialists, and they'll squeeze out the AfD. I don't think the AfD will end up in government. I could be wrong. So the globalists, right? Macron now today flies from France to Washington, D.C. to meet with Trump. And I think a lot of the kind of mainstream, political hack actors in Europe right now are breathing a sigh of, relief that things didn't end up as badly as they had feared in Germany. And I think it's giving them some degree of false confidence. Because I think what's going to happen here, again, Trump is coming into the Ukraine situation, and he's going to fix it and end it in a way that none of these clowns were able to do. Biden couldn't get it done, right? Nobody, and I suspect, right, because we still have one of the great scandals of the Ukraine war is all of this missing money. There was a meeting, Yeah, just hours ago when the president of France and Trump are there talking about it, and Trump says, well, it's 500 million or billion, excuse me, and well, it wasn't that much. There's a discrepancy about how much money was sent by the U.S. to Ukraine. And the real suspicion is that a large portion of those funds ended up right back into the country in the pockets of various Democratic affiliated entities. So there's going to be a scandal developing there. But the real thing here is that Trump's going to come in and he's going to end this. He's going to end it because he's the first person, I think, in this country, politically in the last 3 years, the war's been going on 3, who hasn't had his hand in the cookie jar. He just wants peace. He wants people to stop dying. He wants to end this thing. But Trump also wisely understands that this conflict, this war, has been used to funnel money, resources to his political adversaries. All these deep state hack Democrats have been getting rich off of it. And all these USAID supported entities, these NGOs that, yes, on one hand, supposed performed some function to help Ukraine, also were very busy behind the scenes fighting Trump. And he experienced it before the Ukraine war in his first term and saw it play out over the course of the last 3 years since Russia's invasion. So, Trump's got a very, clear objective here. And the thing is like you hear Putin getting up there and say, well, Putin goes, I haven't spoken to Trump yet. Putin goes, yeah, no, I haven't spoken to Trump yet. I don't, and that's that's the public statement. I just witnessed Lavrov, who's Putin's foreign minister, so his secretary of state. I think he was in Turkey somewhere, and he again reiterated that there was a peace deal on the table that Ukraine wanted, that Boris Johnson of Great Britain scuttled. And that's a matter of record. So so the Putin side, the Russia side wants the deal. Trump now wants the deal because, of course, he sees, and he's going to get this, he thinks by next week, get this all signed up with the minerals stitched up with Zelensky, which would then ensure a some amount of financial assistance and cooperation that the U.S. would help Ukraine rebuild in exchange then for profiting in a joint venture off of their rare earth minerals. Again, lithium, for example. So it's just things are moving so quickly. And the Europeans are a day late and a dollar short. They're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. They're running around arresting grandmothers for posting memes. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of young men are dying. It's a complete folly of run amok leftism. And the reason I keep talking about Europe is because it's a cautionary tale. Here in the U.S., we dodged a bullet. It could have gone the other way. Had the Democrats been able to cheat just a little bit more, Kamala Harris might have squeezed it over, the finish line somehow. But America's a different country. The reason why they're arresting grandmothers for memes, the reason why 60 Minutes is celebrating the fact that Germany is sending 6 armed police officers to investigate somebody's content that they put on the internet, is because the left realizes now that the only way that they can win is if they have power over us and are able to shut us up and feed us nothing but propaganda. And it goes to something that I've been observing over the last few weeks now, that the Democratic Party is absolutely lost. And I don't see, there's nothing. There's still not a glimmer of any kind of hope for the Democratic Party here at home. And I believe these leftist parties will deteriorate everywhere. They are deteriorating. By the way, the other part of the votes came from somewhere. So AFD surged, like doubled their vote share. They cannibalized other parties. And I suppose you could say, hey, not bad work. And in less than 3 years, they've more than doubled their support. Interestingly, by the way, the so-called Nazi party, right? The AFD, that's what the left calls it. They did extremely well. They won everywhere, pretty much everywhere in the eastern part of the country. So what used to be East Germany, they did very well in. So they didn't win Berlin. Okay. But everywhere outside of Berlin, pretty much, with very few exceptions, in East Germany, they did very well. And then I think somewhere in Lower Saxony, they won there as well. Just interesting side note. I suppose the people who have seen more recently the effects of a totalitarian regime recognize those elements now in their country. So it's big, right? It's big. And well, I'll get to it. I got to take a quick break here, but I'll get to the Trump's comments on the deal, which I think is classic Trump, and it's just really, really well done. He is, folks, this is exactly the presidency that I have waited for my entire life. I can't believe I am so lucky. We are all of us so lucky to be here and to be experiencing this. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, The What's Right Show will continue in a moment. Special envoy Steve Witkoff went on CNN's Jake Tapper show, okay, and I'll tell you, just right into the belly of the beast to defend Trump's mineral deal in Ukraine. Sam Mirejovsky, welcome to the What's Right Show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. This is what Witkoff said, and you could see that Tapper was absolutely beside himself over this.
Well, Jake, let me say this with regard to the mineral rights agreement. The president came into office, and lo and behold, what did he find out? That we are the majority share of the aid to Ukraine, so we're funding it, and we were funding it with no arrangement to pay it back. Alternatively, the Europeans, who were most affected by this war, were funding the minority share, and they had agreements to pay it back. So, as is typical of the president, he's very, very sensible. He said to himself, that makes no sense to me. Why would the American public, taxpayers here, be funding the majority share, not get anything back? The Europeans funding the minority share, they get everything back. So this agreement is much about repayment for all that we have done on behalf of the Ukrainian people. And that's the way the president sees it. I expect to see a deal signed this week. You saw President Zelensky waver in his commitment towards that a week ago. The president sent a message to him. He's not wavering anymore. I think there's a reason he's not wavering. It's because he realizes that we have done so much, and that agreement belongs being signed. And I think you'll see it signed this week.
Can I just, folks, rewind back to the Iraq War? And I remember what I said back then. And I'm still embarrassed now to this day about my neocon orientation that I had back during the early stages of the Bush presidency. I was all for the invasion. And I'm being, open with you about this because I certainly feel very differently today. But after we succeeded and the toll, the cost, the human and financial cost of the war wore on, I would make periodically this, it was a joke, but not really. I would say things to the effect, and everybody, including Republicans, Bush Republicans, would all get the vapors. I would say something along the lines of, I don't know about, the future governance of Iraq, but we ought to, just divvy it up into different zones, right? Like there should be the Chevron sector and the Mobil sector, And I literally just, my point was, okay, we went in, we freed the country, Americans died, my taxpayer money was spilled as well. We sacrificed. Now, how do we get paid back? Because all in, I think that war in Afghanistan was over $1 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a lot more by the time, the dust settled. So, and nobody would ever do this because for some reason, and I don't understand this, it's so odd to me that the left in particular, but Republicans too, these establishment Republicans are such do-gooders. Like they love the idea, oh, we should be magnanimous. We should give all of this money to whoever. We should do whatever. We should help. I read somewhere that we've, put something like $5 trillion of aid into Canada. Into Africa. African aid, total amount of African aid. Oh, where do I have it? I had it here in my stack. It's just a wild thing. It's enormous. It's staggering. Okay. And the point of it, of course, is what is it done for us, right? We didn't take over any diamond mines or to get any of it back. We didn't take any resources. We should. You want help? Okay, we'll help you. We'll loan you money, and in return, you'll give us something. The Chinese do this Belt and Road Initiative all around the world. Yeah, we'll give you money. Here's $1 billion, and you're going to pledge your port or your airport or some infrastructure or a mine. You'll do that. And countries do it. And by the way, the Chinese Chicoms then, come in and, take, when there's an inevitable default, they take the resources. So I remember going back to Iraq saying, well, we should be getting the oil. It's the least we deserve it. But, Bush, oh, high and mighty. No, this is about democracy. It's about self-determination for the Iraqi people. Well, Iraq is still a mess. It was a mess before, arguably maybe less so. Now it's an even bigger mess, and so many people, Americans, and from other countries too, died needlessly, in my opinion. Now, so Trump is informed by that and is going in and saying, "Look, we're gonna do this," and the Europeans are getting the vapors, including Macron from France, and so that is why today at the White House, Trump talking about this. Got a little, some raised eyebrows from Macron, who was sitting right next to him.
It looks like we're getting very close. The deal's being worked on, and we're, I think, getting very close to getting an agreement where we get our money back over a period of time. But it also gives us something where I think it's very beneficial to their economy, to them as a country. But, we're in for $350 billion. How we got there, I don't know. But that's a lot of money, a lot of money invested. And we had nothing to show for it. And it was the Biden administration's fault. The Europeans are in for about $100 billion, and they do it in the form of a loan.
And so he says this, Trump says this, and Macron's trying to tap his knee, hey, Trump, I got to get your attention. Wait, you're not. Whoa. He is the nervous body language from the French president here is palpable.
And the Europeans have been great on this issue. They understood it wasn't fair, and we were able to work something out. But with the Ukrainians, I think I can say that we're very close. Scott's around here someplace, and I think we can say that
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
I think we're very close. Do you have something to say about that, Scott?
We are very close.
Good.
1 yard line.
All right, good.
1 yard line on the mineral deal. This is great for us. And by the way, it's great for Ukraine. Because if you're just joining us, I'm just going to repeat it here. If we have a vested economic interest in Ukraine vis-a-vis this deal, now Trump can sit down and go, hey, Vladimir, forget NATO, forget any of that. I got a $500 billion investment in Ukraine. You touch that, and I will bomb Moscow. Like, I know how Trump talks. That's exactly how the phone call is going to go. Okay. And all of a sudden, it reframes the entire, everybody says security guarantees. Ukraine needs security guarantees. What bigger security guarantee than a $500 billion co-investment U.S. Ukraine partnership? That'll ward off, Russia and anybody else who would want to horn in on this. Absolutely brilliant. And the leftists are all foaming at the mouth, agitated. How can Trump do this? It's rapacious. It's abusive. I don't think the left even, I don't think they understand how brilliant this is. All right, speaking of the left and how lost they are, I got a clip to play from Ilhan Omar that will absolutely blow your minds. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. Be right back after these messages. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust with your injury case. 702-820-1234. Easy number to remember, right? 702-820-1234. Use that number from wherever you are. That's just to our main office in Las Vegas, but help you wherever you're at. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Now, look, it isn't just that Trump won the election. A lot of things occurred around this past election cycle that I think are bigger than just one party going out of government, out of power, and another party coming in. The first thing that occurred in the last 2 years in the United States is that Trump decisively took over the GOP, the Republican Party. We had our civil war, if you will, political civil war internally as Republicans over the last couple of years. It happened because the Republican Party did, in fact, have an open primary, in spite of a vast majority of Republicans. I think, I don't remember if there was some polling done about this. Just from my personal observation, most of my Republican friends, particularly those that like Trump, felt that we didn't need a primary, that we just needed to, stand behind Trump and be unified. But I'm really glad that we as Republicans fought it out. I'm glad that DeSantis showed himself to be kind of a weasel. I think it's good that the never Trump wing of the party was finally roundly defeated. And they're done. I mean, they are absolutely donezo. And they're irrelevant. They're out of power. We have a handful of miscreant, senators, U.S. senators who are causing maybe some discomfort to Trump. But tell me, did we have a single nominee of Trump's that didn't make it across the finish line? So you want to judge the efficacy of a counter movement by what it accomplishes. They haven't accomplished anything, right? They successfully sabotaged Trump 45, Trump 1.0, but they've proved completely ineffective with Trump 47, Trump 2.0 here, and so far as we stand here a month into Trump's presidency. Meanwhile, Trump's, going forward, and here's where it gets good. So the Democratic Party, the opposition now, but they were the party in power a hot minute ago, right? We have to go that far back where, Democrats had Congress, they had the presidency, they had control of the full federal government, they had its agents sifting through Melania Trump's underwear drawer at Mar-a-Lago. I'm being very deliberate in how I say that because, that was the turning point. I'll get there in a moment. I'm telling you, it was not that long ago that Trump was the subject of multiple criminal investigations. The Democratic Party was firmly in control, okay? And the popular, majority of the country, who knows what we thought, right? A lot of people were very much divided. So the Republican Party comes in. They have their internal awakening. Maybe we don't call it a civil war, but we get rid of, for example, right? They get rid of, what is her name? Ronna McDaniel. Okay. There's a whole cleanup of the RNC. New people, new blood. People go, oh, it's Lara Trump. I know what I said at the time. I said, we need to win. I don't care who they put in there. I don't care if their last name is Trump or, Cobblepop Septic Peptic. Whoever it is, we need energy. Do you remember, by the way, what I said when I was at the Republican convention? I know. I was there. And that was Lara Trump's masterpiece. It was wow. Every part of that convention, okay, in Milwaukee over the summer told a story. And it was, of course, it was a week or so past the Butler assassination attempt. Very powerful, emotional, but all of that was already choreographed before the event. Not the story itself, but the event, right? Perfectly organized to tell a story of who the new Republican Party was. That was the critical part of it. It told a story. We welcome all. We're a party of optimism. We're a party of small government. We're a party of low taxes. We're a party of entrepreneurs. We're a party of independent-minded Americans. We're a party that believes in a safe border. We believe in law and order. We believe that there are men and women, and that's it. Okay? It went through a very simple, if you follow that the arc of the campaign culminating sort of into the convention, and then what I would call the closing argument from the summer through November, very straightforward who we are as a Republican Party. And all the people that 8 years prior were grousing, right, Robbie, when you and I were in Cleveland, and you know what I'm talking about, people were grousing. We'd go to different political events. Oh, Trump, he's not going to win, or we're just here for the food and the booze and remember? And it's like, what planet are you on? Because I'm just a lawyer at the time. I'm saying this in my head. I was like, I'm a lawyer. I'm a radio talk show host. I talk to a lot of people. I'm not the dumbest guy around, so I have some idea of what's going on. And I see a world completely different than you do. And it was all of these Bush era political apparatchiks that were just so anti-Trump. And that went away, somewhere in the course of this election. So what were the Democrats up to in the meantime? Because that's the other part of the story that's huge. Well, the Democrats spent pretty much 4 years lying to us and also to themselves about Joe Biden. And it wasn't, by the way, just that Joe Biden was a human vegetable. It was also that Joe Biden wasn't a criminal, that Joe Biden didn't have a well-oiled graft machine that was funneling funds to his brother, to his son, and members of his family, that he didn't get rich off of the vice presidency, that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, blah, 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 okay? So the lies about Biden went beyond just his health, and they went sort of to the core of his decency, which was supposedly Biden's only selling point, right? Like, nobody goes around saying, gosh, that Biden guy. And I'm going back like 15 years, okay? 20 years. No one ever went, God, a Biden guy, he is just brilliant. Like, oh my gosh, he's a brilliant guy. Can't get enough of him. Nobody, not even Democrats, said that. They all know he's a crank, right? midwit guy. But a lot of people, and I would say this was the big argument for Biden, overarching theme of the 2020 election, is that Biden was this deeply decent guy. He wasn't a radical. Remember? It wasn't a radical. He was just going to bring us back to decency and morality and just American goodness, and we're just going to be good. And in the post-Trump era, a lot of people were like, right, getting in the late stages of 2020, COVID and all that madness, and Trump not helping himself and flailing a bit. People bought that argument. They did. And we can't, as Republicans, by the way, we can't keep telling ourselves that they stole the election. They may have stolen the election. It's not helpful. The big steal happened with the lies. The big steal happened that Biden presented himself as something that he wasn't. And I don't mean a cognitively capable individual. I mean it as a moral individual, as a person who operated lawfully. And most importantly, he presented himself as a moderate, and his presidency was anything but that. Now, the curses of radio are that I have to take these breaks here. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to pick it up right there. Because right now, that to me politically has been the suicide of the left in the country. It's that moment. Because everything that happened over the last 4 years spawned from we'll call it a great lie, or a series of great lies about who the Democratic Party was. And this, by the way, is why Kamala Harris it was so easy to just slide her in. Because it really wasn't about Biden. The agenda of the party is separate from whoever is the vanguard, the leader of the party. And this is the difference between them and us. This is, by the way, why they're so mad about the cult of personality of Trump. They're mad that we have Trump. They're mad that we have J.D. Vance. They're mad that we have these people who can stand on their own 2 feet and have ideas. Gosh forbid that you articulate something that comes from your heart and not talking points that were made by some, man-child 23-year-old that thinks there are 32 genders or 50 genders. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. The What's Right Show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here, stricken with a cold, but not out for the count. The What's Right Show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. It is me, trust me. I know my voice sounds a little bit different today. I'm fighting this through, and it's gross here in the breaks. I'm sorry, folks, particularly Robbie here, who has to hear me hacking and coughing in between these segments, but it is what it is. Everybody is sick right now, and I got it too. Okay, at What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter, sam@samandashlaw.com is my email. By the way, got a great email here just right before I went on air from Edward. Love your program. Thank you. Thanks, Edward. I appreciate the confidence that you have in this. I love this show too. We have fun together, don't we? So who is not having fun right now is the Democratic Party. They are lost. And I teased this before the top of the hour, and I haven't forgotten about it because Ilhan Omar gave an absolutely unhinged interview the other day. And it ties into all of this stuff happening. So I was mentioning that Biden, the Democrats together, sold us on this big lie, sold us on the fact that Biden was mentally competent, which he was not back in 2020. Obviously, they used COVID as a pretext to have him be in his basement, doing appearances via Zoom. So there's that. They told us he was a decent, fundamentally decent human being, which he is not. He's a weirdo pervert, okay? The guy sniffs hair of kids that, go up and say he's weird, he's touchy. And it seems that he had inappropriate showers with his adolescent daughter, okay? And she wrote about it in her journal, which, of course, when it was discovered by conservative media, Biden dispatched his Secret Service and FBI to go track it down. Okay. So the last thing, of course, is, he was sold to us as a moderate. Those are sort of big kind of themes of the 2020 election. A moderate. He was a moderate. He's a moderate. He's another bad. I don't know about you. From my vantage point, the last 4 years didn't seem very moderate to me, but, you look at Biden's cabinet. I mean, what a freak show, right? It was some weird stuff. So along comes Trump, right? And he wins for all the reasons that we know. He wins because first, he decisively conquers the Republican Party, establishes his agenda as the agenda of the Republican Party, kicks out all the never-Trumpers and the Mitt Romney types, including actually a chairman who has Romney in her name, okay, replaces it with his allies, and, by the way, wins. By the way, that's what matters, right? He wins, and he wins decisively. Now, the Democrats, some point along the way, couldn't carry on the charade with Biden any longer. They're like, well, okay, we're going to put in, I know who we got. And the best they could do is Kamala Harris. And it reminds me, and I'll get to this here with Ilhan Omar in a second, it reminds me the thing that is so comical about the left is they don't actually, a lot of times they don't win on or succeed at anything on their own merits. Like, we're listening to talk radio right now. Let's take, Air America, for example. The left goes, we're going to counter Rush Limbaugh. Enough of that big, fat blowhard Rush Limbaugh. We're going to counter him. They never listened to any portion of Rush's show. They didn't understand how deeply intelligent and wise and actually caring the guy was and warm-hearted. I decided he was a blowhard. He decided he was the enemy. Well, he was successful, of course. And so what did they do? They decided, we're going to do Air America, and it failed. Where do left-wing radio hosts thrive? PBS? NPR? Right? Government money? And now we're finding out, Politico and all these companies have been funded through USAID. Like, they live off of government largesse. Because in a free marketplace of ideas, their ideas are not particularly desirable. So that's why they can't have the free marketplace. And this is a key thing, one critical thing occurred in all of this in the lead up to November. And that is that Musk bought Twitter. Okay? Absolutely earth-shattering. And all of a sudden, he broke through this effort of the government to conspire together with a very willing, for the most part, social media, corporate world that wanted to censor speech. They wanted to see what they have in Europe happen here in the U.S. This is why 60 Minutes has run that fawning piece a week ago about censorship in Germany, and they just love it. They're like, oh, this is great, because that's what they want here. But we didn't have it. And all of a sudden, people could share ideas. And all of a sudden, we all got together and by and large agreed that the emperor had no clothes. Their only response is to call us stupid. And you've heard it a million times. This clip from Ilhan Omar is not unusual, right? It's not like anything earth-shattering. This was last week. Mehdi Hasan on his Zedio network. By the way, Hasan is a crazy guy. This is the guy who tweeted out, "Make American planes crash again," last week. Just a goof. But here's what Ilhan Omar said.
These people are just idiots. I really, I'm at the point where it's become really hard to have an intellectual debate with any of these people, because the level of stupidity that they are displaying every single day is frankly embarrassing, not just in Congress, but as Americans, and the fact that these people are allowed to say just the most ridiculous things tells you that the dumbing of the United States has arrived, because how else do we get a Trump presidency again?
Well, so we have a Somali-born elitist, right, who comes to this country, possibly engages in some mild incestuous immigration fraud. We'll leave that shelf for the minute. Lecturing us, but this is what the Democratic Party does. It's not just Ilhan Omar. What do they say? They attack not Trump, okay, not Marjorie Taylor Greene. They call us stupid. Every person that voted for Trump, you can't even talk to them. They're so stupid, right? And what else does she say? The fact that these people, meaning you and I, the fact that these people are allowed to say just the most ridiculous things tells you that the dumbing down of the United States has arrived. Meaning, we shouldn't even be allowed to say it. Crazy. Be right back after this. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here, host of the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. So Joy Reid, who believes, by the way, she's been fired from MSNBC, is despondent about it. She believes she deserves the job because her work was so important. Doesn't matter that nobody's buying what she's selling. Doesn't matter that her show's unwatchable. Doesn't matter that her ratings are in the toilet. She deserves to have her show because it's an important message. And I think the only person out there really encouraging her in this is BLM, who issued a statement this morning saying that this was a voice critical to their movement, like important, not critical of, but critical to the BLM movement. Yes, Black Lives Matter. Okay. I loved it. I think it was Matt Walsh who said that he's disappointed that Joy Reid's show was canceled because he doesn't know where he's going to get his like funniest material. I mean, how many Joy Reid clips have we played here on this program, Robbie? I feel like more people have heard Joy Reid here on this program than hear her on her actual show. And that's probably true. Excuse me, I got this cold and I can't laugh without coughing. I bet it's true across. I bet literally if you take her views of her funny clips that that hosts like me put out, cumulatively, it's an orders of magnitude larger audience than what she gets, on any given night. So, right before the 2024 election, by the way, Joy Reid had this to say about the stakes. What was at stake, right? When you think about how lost the Democratic Party is now, think back to this.
We on this side of the TV screen have said all we can. We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election, where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy, but also white-ruled South Africa before Mandela and the black majority took control, or Vladimir Putin's Russia, Viktor Orban's Hungary, or Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela today, that suppresses the rights of women and minorities, uses the military to execute the whims of a strongman dictator, and controls and suppresses the press, education, the arts, rewrites history to suit a favored and dominant racial class, and foments extravagant corruption in order to enrich the dictator and his friends.
I can't. Hold on, the cough button. I'm dying. Unbelievable. So anyway, that was 24 hours before the election. Now, the election results a mere day later come out, and the same person, Joy Reid, has this to say. Never forget this beautiful moment.
I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. I mean, she had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swift. She had the Swifties. She had the Beehive. Like, you could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And I think that's still true.
She could not have run a better campaign. She got Beyonce. Queen Latifah. The Swifties. She got all the Swifties. Her candidate that she shilled for, that so many on the left shilled for, many of those people now out of a job because their opinions are absolutely worthless. Their access is nil. They have nothing to offer. Their ideas suck. They're shallow. They're stupid. I could go on and on. Okay? They were all literally holding up this empty vassal of an idiot, namely Kamala Harris. This was a couple weeks ago. It's just making the rounds now. I didn't see this before, but look, this is what we narrowly dodged. This is Kamala Harris after her visit to the fire-stricken communities in the Pacific Palisades in California. And these are her comments.
What goes through your mind when you see this? You're here, you're now seeing it up close.
It's not only seeing it, Alex, you can smell it. You can feel it, right?
You can smell it. You can feel it. It's not just seeing it, Alice. I can smell it. Oh, really? Madam Vice President, you can smell the ashes of people's homes, of their pets, of the people that died in these fires. Imagine, I don't want to be dramatic here, but imagine, visiting Auschwitz after liberation. It's not just seeing it, it's smelling it. What an idiot. I'm going to do her a favor and not play the rest of this. It goes on and on. It's awful. That's my point. It's awful. And these people shilled for... Excuse me, folks. I've just got to... Okay. Sorry. Live radio. I'm dealing with this cold. Forgive me. I told you, though, I would be here. I would show up today. I had too much to cover. So anyway, the media, right, the political left, Democrats went all in. They went from lying about Biden. And you could say, okay, it was to get, rid of Trump or whatever. But then they just so effortlessly shifted their propaganda lying machine over to lie for Kamala Harris. And what happened is they got their asses handed to them, okay? We rejected it. And not just we, like MAGA Republicans or conservatives, right-wingers, but we, like Americans, like a lot of middle-of-the-road people were done. And that was huge, right? Because even before Kamala Harris was subbed in for Biden, you'll recall that, it was in July that Elon Musk publicly endorsed Trump. Key people came out and finally were like, enough is enough. And these are people that are former liberals, right? So the Trump movement began to take an, I don't say appropriate, but win over, okay, anybody out there who had a little bit of independent thinking and a brain. So what are they left with? I mean, they've got nothing, right? Friday, the world melted down because Trump slammed the Democratic Maine governor who came to the governor's banquet there, bipartisan meeting of governors. How dare Trump be mean to Janet Mills? Remember this exchange? It's also significant. I'm telling you. Here you go.
I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better
Men
do it
in
because
women's
you're not going to
sports.
get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. Every state.
See you in
Good,
court.
I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
So, here's the scoop, right? The New York Times poll in January, a month ago, 67% of Democrats think that transgender athletes should not be allowed to compete against women. Bio men should not be allowed to compete against women. Democrats. This isn't, when you throw in Republicans, it's an 80-20 issue, right? 79%, by the way, of all voters say that it shouldn't happen in that same poll. And that's a New York Times poll. So why is this important? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the Democratic Party seems to be content with going over a cliff and literally fighting tooth and nail to protect an issue that they've lost 80% of the country on, including 67% of their own party members. So, and by the way, going back to Ilhan Omar, if you go out and you criticize them about this, they call you stupid. That's been their entire strategy. It's stunning. It is the greatest single act of self-destruction, of political self-destruction that I've ever seen. All right, let me take a quick break here. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, The What's Right Show, will be back in a moment. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the What's Right Show. By the way, I will be on at 3:40, about an hour from now, with Riley Lewis on OAN to talk a little bit about Mayor Eric Adams. I'm going to get into some of the legal shenanigans going on with the state. They're fighting the dismissal. They're fighting it, right? Well, it's a liberal left-wing judge in New York City who doesn't want to see the case against Adams dismissed. So I'm going to talk to Riley about that here in about an hour on OAN, One America News. Sam Mirejovsky here again behind the What's Right microphone. Welcome to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. I really do apologize today for the voice and for my sniffles and for having to occasionally mute myself as I sneeze and cough and whatnot. It's gross, but, I have to be here, so forgive me. All right. Well, speaking of Eric Adams, he's, closing down the Roosevelt Hotel. You saw this? Now, Adams is one of the Democrats that's trying to, tread a delicate balance, not piss off the progressives too much, but at the same time, have some common sense approach to immigration. He's realizing that Trump actually was surging in New York City on the subject of crime, on the subject of immigration. So here's the video making the rounds today about him talking about the Roosevelt Hotel closing. Oh, 1 second.
Our Operation Roosevelt Hotel has been key in allowing us to effectively manage our operation, processing almost 75% of individuals that have come into our care through these doors. Now, thanks to the sound policy decisions of our team, we're able to announce the closure of this site and help even more asylum seekers take the next steps in their journeys while simultaneously saving taxpayers millions of dollars. With this closure, we're closing 53 sites within a span of a year.
Yeah, well, my guess is you're closing it because Trump isn't paying you, right? Trump clawed back, Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security, clawed back the, $82 million? And the New York city of New York State, they're suing Trump over this. They want the money because it was promised. And now they're, how are they going to pay for the hotel? I mean, by the way, can you imagine? This used to be a nice hotel. I think it was like a 4-star hotel. Can you imagine the level of destruction wrought upon this property? And you know what nobody talks about? I'm going to mention this here real fast. Nobody talks about all these migrant hotels because I've heard people say, can you believe it? I mean, if you're a hotel owner, it's really bad for you. Actually not. You get guaranteed occupancy at a fixed rate in perpetuity. But you know one of the first things that they tell you? If you've got a hotel like this, they tell you, fire all the staff. We don't need the staff. So we're just going to open it up. You're going to, stack 4 to a room, 5 to whatever it is. You're going to overcrowd it. We're going to move all the furniture out of the, ballrooms there. We're going to, and they trash your property. But the huge impact that it has on jobs is immense because a 4-star hotel requires a lot of staff. Certainly in a 5-star hotel, right? You get the point. Even a 3-star hotel requires people. If you're renting a dorm, it operates with, they don't have daily housekeeping. They say, no, we just want somebody to clean the room, once a week. So they're using exactly, Robbie, they're using our money to kill jobs. I mean, forget just the trash that it brings into the neighborhood. Imagine, you live in an apartment, got 2 kids, next door to this, and kids go, walking around there, a bunch of bum migrants from some trash heap of a country, sitting there, not working. These are some of whom are criminals, outright. If there aren't criminals when they came here, before they came here, they are now hanging out up to no good, and your kids are walking by it. So it's a huge disruptor and danger to the community, but it's also just a huge problem for the local, economy, because those are potentially hundreds and hundreds of lost jobs. And how many of those facilities did they have? Did he say 53? Multiply that, multiply it. Yeah, I know the Democrats care about jobs. Now, the mayor of, I think really, though, to give Mayor Adams some credit, he is seeing what is going on with his friend, the mayor of Chicago. And that's a huge, I don't know have you seen this? How bad it is? Fewer than 7% of Chicago voters just had found that they had a favorable opinion of Brandon Johnson. And 80% have an unfavorable opinion of the mayor. I don't think has anybody seen numbers this bad for any sitting public official in any elected office? 12% are neutral, 6.6 are favorable, unfavorable 79.9. 1.1 never heard of. And you know why? This guy just went all in for just the 2 teachers' unions, right? So he's there for a few activists. Then he went all in for the illegals. He was getting, chewed out by his own voters over this, his own Democratic base. And he just has doubled down on it at every turn. So again, I opened up with this Harris poll, Harvard Harris poll. And, and we're constantly being told how, by the media, how unpopular Elon Musk is. But I mentioned 70% support. That's kind of the average there. 70% of voters say government expenditures are filled with waste, fraud, and inefficiency. Democrats, 58%, Republicans, 78%, Independents, 75%. Even a majority of Democrats agree with that. 60% of Americans say Doge and Elon Musk are helping cut government waste. 76% support full-scale efforts to root out government waste. 72% says that the U.S. needs an efficiency agency. Again, this is a Harvard Harris poll. So I'm Like, I don't know who's winning here, right? It's not just that Trump won the election. It's that he's doing everything he promised and what he promised people wanted. And Democrats, in order to win, have to lie about their intentions. They have to claim that they are mentally competent when they're not. They have to claim that they're honest when they steal money. They have to claim to be moderate when, in fact, they intend to pursue a radical left-wing agenda. And then when Democrats lose, or when they feel that their grip on power is slipping, they double down on authoritarian tactics to prevent you and I from sharing our unfavorable opinions of them. And that is why the left in this country, the left in Europe, the left globally right now are the real fascists, are the real totalitarians. They want to use government power to silence opposition thinking in order to maintain their grip on full authority. Their version of democracy is just that we go along with whatever their idea of governance is. And if people dare speak out, if people dare make a joke, well, hell's bells. That's a problem. They're going to come after you. And they'll come after you under the guise of civility. You have to be civil, Sam. You can't call Joe Biden an incompetent. You can't call Joy Reid an idiot. That's racist. If I was in Germany, knock, knock, knock. 6 people from the Polizei would be there, guns drawn, waiting to take me in. Well, folks, America saved Europe before. I think we're going to do it again, albeit in a slightly different way. I think that we will demonstrate to them what a national revival looks like. So pay close attention, Europe. Look at what we're doing. It's going to be good stuff. All right. Health, provided I'm in good health tomorrow, I'll be back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT.